My ballers, it's mailbox time. Of course, tomorrow is web show day. It's live web show with me and Ghost, twitch.tv/preachlfw. It's 8 PM GMT. Please come and check us out, guys. If you've never seen it before, we've got 6,500 subs now. I would love to see over 1,000 people at our live web show because it's very different from what the other live streams are. It's not us playing games, it's us talking to you. It's one of the most exciting things that we do, if not the most exciting. We look forward to it very much. Hope to see you there. I'm playing some StarCraft 2 again in the background. I haven't played it since almost release. I finished the story then. I played a little bit of online play, but I started to feel myself becoming drawn in and gave that a miss. So I'm just playing through the game again. I really do enjoy it. For some reason, though, the keyboard bugged on me and I couldn't use any keybinds, which is pretty hard, especially for someone who pushes as against clicking, especially in an RTS. You can't really afford to click, so that was quite awkward. Anyway, today's mailbox comes from Naladel. I like to say Naladel or Naladel. His question is, what are your plans for Mr. Pandera videos? Your channel started when Cataclysm was already midway through its life, so we didn't get to see how you prepared for it. I think people these days expect guides for leveling, class gameplay, talents, professions, dungeons, and all sorts of stuff from a WoW-related channel. But what do you see your videos focusing on? This time we also get a whole new race and a class. That's a whole new area to explore. Seems like a lot of work to do. So do you see yourself having to make a choice as to what gets covered and what gets missed? Well, this is like a big open-ended question, realistically. This is like a question saying, where is the channel going? Considering Mr. Pandera is launching, I've obviously joined Method now, so I have to really focus on that. What am I going to be doing? I think the easiest question to answer here is actually what I'm not going to be doing. I'm generally not going to be doing the stuff that any run-of-the-mill YouTuber can provide. That is very against what I think my channel is about and why people come to my channel. If you were literally after the most basic of basic 4-minute videos of something really, really poor quality and very general, oh, this is the dungeon, this is the boss, this is what he does, this is me doing it. I'm not down with that whatsoever. I don't think that's helpful to anyone, really. Any video that can be made literally by you going into the dungeon and playing it for yourself for 5 minutes and just understanding the very basics of what's going on, I don't see as worthwhile for me to put out there. It's not what I focus on. I like to be very specific. You guys know that. I talk for, what, let's say we're taking a Frost DK. I must have nearly an hour of footage on talking about the Frost DK. I can't condense that to 5 minutes, even if my life depended on it. I just can't do it. What stuff will we be doing? Well, Ghost doesn't have the beta, which is kind of a pisser, really, because he doesn't have the annual pass, and rightfully so. He wasn't playing World of Warcraft when the annual pass came out. It's not much point in him getting it now. So I would have loved to have done a joint beta playthrough with Ghost at the first 15 levels of the Monk area, because we have a blast when we're playing together, and that would have been nice for you guys to watch as well and get to experience that. However, the people who are already in the beta, there are hundreds and literally hundreds of videos out there already of the Monk first 15 levels, so I don't think that's interesting either. I also like the idea of you guys exploring your own content and enjoying that yourself. What I will be focusing on is obviously leveling a Monk myself, and going in depth on the Monk as soon as possible and trying to bring you some very advanced coverage of the Monk in its best form. That is my target. What I'm also trying to do is focus heavily on the alterations to the classes, so you guys can what to expect when you get your class into Mr. Pandera, because most of the classes have changed dramatically. A lot of spells have been removed, a lot of spells have been added, all that kind of stuff that's just completely going to switch up what we know about our classes. That's the stuff I want to focus on. I want to get as many of you. I'd love, ideally, to get one of each class level 90 on the beta, and then sort of practice the rotations of all 31 specs. Now, that is a huge commitment of time from my part to try and bring that to you, but I'm going to try and do that. Well, that's what I think is most important is, look, once you start getting into your classes, don't be surprised. We're likely to get the talent changes before Mr. Pandera. That's usually how Blizzard does it. About a month or so before Miss launch, we'll get all our new talents, and the game will be an absolute joke for that period. It usually is the way it happens before expansions, is they give us all the talent changes, they revamp everything like it's going to be Mr. Pandera, because that's how the game works now. It's not about buying Mr. Pandera and then you'll open these new functions. The game simply works that way now. So Blizzard will implement those, and I want you guys to be ready for that, and I want you to be having fun on that, and I don't want you guys to go, what the fuck do I do now, Preachy? What the hell do I do now? So that is my aim. That is definitely one of the main aims. The other aim is I need to be raiding on the Mr. Pandaria beta as well, which means I need to put heavy focus into my Warlock. I certainly want to have him fully raid ready. Now, the forums and the method guys say we're likely to get pre-made anyway, fully geared characters to be testing the raid content and the heroic raid content. I'm going to be a part of that, I hope. I'll make it into the raid to check that stuff out. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. So I'm going to produce some content on the early raids. There's no problem with that from the guild's point of view. Everybody will be doing it anyway, especially the high-end guilds. They'll be checking that content out. So I'll hopefully bring you some ideas of what the next raid content is. And if you've seen any of the documentation on the new raids, either on MMO Champion or any sites like that, you'll see that the new raid bosses look like they're going to be really fucking hard. Like, seriously hard. There's so many mechanics revealed already from the Dungeon Journal, the first 7 bosses, that heroic mode, I think this is going to be the longest tier of raiding, maybe in the history of WoW. And that's no exaggeration. We've got 14 bosses that go out at launch. And so far from the 7 we've seen previews on from the Dungeon Journal, we're likely to see something pretty wacky in terms of how long it's going to take to down all the heroic content. So that's something to look forward to from my part, and also need to be ready for it. So I will be putting a lot of focus into my Warlock to make sure he's raid ready. We have to work under the assumption that we won't get pre-mades, which means I need to get gear caps, etc. on my Warlock. I also want to plan out my leveling strategy. I always do go hardcore when the leveling is done. I go against my entire ethos, which is to enjoy the content on my first character. I always go mega level straight through. I am hoping to live stream that, by the way, for anybody who's not getting Pandaria Beta immediately. We do expect it to launch around July, so I will expect it to live stream that whole thing, and maybe you guys can sort of push me to carry on when the tiredness sets in. As for the channel, we'll do what we always do so far. There is a definite argument as to spamming content out. I saw this discussion actually occurred in one of the TGN Director meetings, which was, guys, we need to push out as much Mists of Pandaria content as humanly possible. Towley's done loads. He's done, what, 20 or 30 videos now. He was the only one who managed to get beta. He borrowed an account off one of his fans. And morally, get my words mixed up, morally, I'm against that on principle of just putting content out there for the sake of content. But the argument was made, and I do agree with it from a business point of view, that TGN, who are my partners, and they're the ones who pay the bills for my videos, is that we need to be the #1 search channel for World of Warcraft channel on YouTube. So when people search for Mr. Pandaria content, it's TGN that comes up, therefore our videos get more views, we all earn more money. In which case we should put out as much Mr. Pandaria content as possible. It feels wrong to me. It does feel wrong to me, because that was never my goal of my channel. I mean, if I was trying to make as much money as humanly possible out of YouTube, I would put all my videos onto TGN anyway. They have a much larger audience. Those videos average 9,000 to 10,000 views within 2 weeks, whereas mine average sort of 5,000 to 6,000 views in a couple of weeks. So I would earn an extra $3 or whatever ridiculous amount of money it is per video. But I'm very focused on keeping a community which I think has grown very rich and vibrant community that I've brought over to my channel, which is the guys who accept certain things, which is something that is hard to accept for a lot of players. One, that WoW is not easy. You can't describe a class by standing in front of a training dummy for 5 minutes and saying this is your rotation, off you go. That's the kind of community I want. I don't attract many youngsters, which are the majority of the WoW players. So from a business point of view, I've got everything arse end backwards is one way to say in the focus of the channel. Well, how will the channel progress over the next year or so with Mr. Pandaria? I hope to, if everything goes well with Method, I hope to be able to take part in doing some very early, not super early because they have kill videos and stuff to do, but very early raid guides of those bosses, if I'm able to take part, if I prove myself good enough. I would much, like after the first kills have come out and all that kind of stuff, is to do my own take on the raid guides. Purely from a perspective that I think I can do it in a way that I think you guys enjoy better and maybe more helpful than the usual list of spells and this is how you sort of cope with it. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in guides and YouTube guides from the big makers which seem to not focus on the realities of situation. Is, guys, this is actually the key part. You need to focus on this, that kind of stuff. I eventually see the channel moving towards, hopefully, and now this is a huge leap, is a combination of other people coming into the channel. We're in talks with a lot of people at the moment, good people from my past who want to do something with the channel, that they've got ideas from, which will lessen the strain on me a little. I don't mind being the voice of my channel by any means. I think that's important, is that I become the voice and maintain the voice of the channel. That's why you guys originally came, I assume. If you wanted similar content, you could have found it elsewhere. And growing the channel into something successful. We are about a quarter of the way there to making it a full-time job for one person in terms of income. Which means, I mean, you can imagine I work sort of 12 hours a day and put out a piece of content every day. If I was this my full-time job, you can imagine the amount of effort I could put into that. So that's the answer to the question from my point of view, is where we focus the channel going is, if the opportunity is there, I'd like to go full-time and dedicate the channel into growing more and more and bringing other people on board and making it a much more, not professional, because our look has always been not professional and doing it for fun, but that's how I would like it to go. So that's your question, and that's me done for today, guys. And only a short mailbox today while I prepare for the web show tomorrow. We've got some little skits and stuff to do for you there. So I hope to see you tomorrow, 8 PM GMT, guys. You take it easy.
By the numbers, boys. Been waiting on you. This better be good. Who wants some?
Outstanding. With their barracks and factory trashed, we just gotta mop up any stragglers and we're home free.
Armed and ready, boy. Give me orders? Yes, sir. In the rear with the gear. What's going on? Yep, I can't build it.
Crane controls accessed. Decrypting security overrides.
Ah, what's going on? Big job, huh?